This video is a tutorial on how to install and configure the EGit plugin for Eclipse in LassoLab in order to work with the Knop project on GitHub. There is a companion document that's in the Knop project repository on GitHub, and I'm going to show you how to open that up because that will also show you about the internal web browser for Eclipse. Let's open up the view which contains the internal web browser for Eclipse. So we go to Window, Show View, Other. A whole bunch of views appear, so if we just type in some filter text, we come up with the one that we want, which is the internal web browser. With Eclipse, you have all these different views represented by tabs. And they can be grouped together in various places, so you can move these tabs around if you don't like where they are. This center one is a little bit special. That is actually the editor, so you can't really, you can't get that to be maximized in there. But there is a way to make it maximize. Use this lovely maximize button. That pushes all the other views out of the way, so that you can see what you want to see. And don't worry, they haven't disappeared. You can always restore it by clicking that restore button. So let's go to our documentation, which is in our GitHub repo for the Knop project. And it's located at github.com/github-project/Knop within our docs folder and using EGit with the Knop project. I've already gone through this, and you should be aware of some prerequisites. Once you've satisfied these prerequisites, we can go forward by installing the EGit plugin. So to install software, it's hidden underneath the Help menu, and we select Install New Software. We have to select a site to work with, and we're going to be using the Indigo site. It might take a while to load things. Then we can type in some filter text, and we're looking for all the Git plugins. So you type that, you wait, and we're presented with 4 plugins, so we're going to select all of those and then click the next button. Click next again, accept the license agreement, click finish, and this may take a while, so I'm going to pause and come back. Finally, we're prompted to restart LassoLab, so we're going to go ahead and do that. I'll pause and come back. We're back. LassoLab has relaunched, and we're presented with a blank internal web browser. So let's go back to the Knop repository. And now we are going to go into the next step in the process. We need to create a fork of the Knop project and store it in our own account. Now, as you can see, I've already logged in. I can see my account name here. I have also forked the Knop project previously. So I see this Your Fork button. You'll probably just see fork instead of your fork. So you'll need to just click this button, and then GitHub will start doing some what they call hardcore forking action, and eventually take you back to your account. So you would end up seeing a repository that looks something like this. Now that you have forked the Knop project repository, you will have your own copy under your own account. Next, we're going to take your fork and clone it to your local computer. That means you'll have an exact clone of your project's repository, and you'll be able to work with that without interfering with the primary Knop Project repository. This is why Git and GitHub is so awesome. Now let's clone the project to your local computer. First, we need to get this URI for SSH. So click on this SSH tab in your GitHub account, and then select and copy this to the clipboard, Command-C or Control-C, so that you can later paste that into some settings in Eclipse or LassoLab. Next, go to Window, open Perspective, Other, and select the Git Repository Exploring option. Click OK. And let's make sure we got the Git repositories view open. Yep, we sure do. Now that we have the Git repository view open, all we need to do at this point is paste the repository's URI that we copied earlier, and a new wizard appears. This is the clone Git repository wizard. The URI is already populated, as well as the host and the repository path. We do need to add some information, so we need to select the SSH protocol, leave port blank, user is already populated, enter your username, enter your user's password, and I recommend that you select Store and Secure Store so that you don't need to keep re-entering your password when you're doing your work. Click Next. And now we want to select the master branch because that's the one we're going to work with. Click Next again. And now we have to enter a destination for our files. I like putting stuff into my web root. So I'm going to enter that in. And I'm going to call it the Knop Project because that's always a good place to put things. And then all we really need to do from here is click the Finish button. And there we have it. We have cloned the Knop project into a working directory, and we have all of our docs, Knop 8, Knop 9. Neat. Now you've completed the step for cloning your fork, and the repository exists on your local computer, but we still need to do a couple more things here. We need to do something called configuring remotes for your clone. So to work with that, we need to navigate through our Knop project. So we'll open that up and go to the Knop project, the working directory, and within .git, there is a configuration file. It's often so much easier to work with files directly than to use a GUI interface or to use a GUI. So that's what we're going to do in this case, especially because in this particular instance, working with the EGit UI is really painful. So I just want to do it this way. So I'm going to edit the file directly. I'm going to double click it to open it. And here's my configuration file. And what I want to do is I want to copy and paste some special lines of code that are in the documentation. Now I kept that open and I scrolled down to this step, the configure remotes for your clone. And this is the stuff that I need to copy. And then back into my perspective for Git repositories, and then paste. And finally I need to save and close that file. That's it. Now we've got our remotes configured. We're ready to go on to the next step. Alright, so we've got our clone. We've configured remotes for our clone. Now let's create a new Lasso project in LassoLab using the source files in our clone. So, first step, click on the Lasso perspective icon, go to File, New, Lasso Project. We're going to use the project name of Knop-project. Underneath Contents, we're going to create the project at an existing location. You can leave the host as localhost, that's cool. Directory, I'm just pasting that in. That's where I saved it. You can also click this Browse button to go ahead and find where it is if you want to navigate to it. Now, because I have a fresh installation of LassoLab, I have not yet configured my interpreter. You may or may not have to do this step, but once you've done it, you never have to do it again. So I have not yet done it, so I'll do this step. I'll click the Configure Interpreters. Now I just click the search button right here. LassoLab goes out and finds the interpreter, sets it up, looks good. Now we click the OK button to go back to the Create Lasso 9 project settings. The interpreter has been set as using the default interpreter, so we can proceed on to the next step. Click the Next button. In this step, we need to better define our build settings. So by default, it looks within the root directory for anything else, but it ignores the root directory itself. So we have to manually tweak these settings. So first of all, we're going to select all of these things that have a little brown UPS package, a little brown icon there, and then we're going to remove those from the build path. So we click this button right here, and they are removed from the build path. They're not missing, they're just removed from the build path. Now we need to add the root directory here as back into the build path, so we'll use that as a source folder. Click this little icon up here, and it adds it in. Final step here, we have to exclude the .git directory. That has nothing to do with Lasso, that's just Git stuff. So to exclude that, just click this exclude button, and that'll remove everything. And just to make sure, we could stretch this puppy out. Take a look. Looks clean. Let's click the finish button, and our Knop project has been created. Just to verify, let's open it up. You notice that all of a sudden this little red square with a white X appeared. That means that the Lasso 9 interpreter was parsing the files contained therein to see if there's any syntax errors. And if there's a syntax error, a red square with a white X will appear. Let's find out where it is. Turns out that it's in this Knop 8 folder. And it looks like we got some in each of these three directories, so I'll look at the demo. And it doesn't seem to like the index file. I wonder why. Let's take a look. I guess it doesn't like something. Let's hover over that. And it just doesn't seem to like colons. Well, that's a Lasso parser for you. This code will run, and I'll even prove to you that it can run and does run. It's just that the Lasso 9 interpreter is ultra strict, which is good. It will help you write better code in the long run. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. And next I want to actually do a really brief demo of the Knop project. So we'll start that now. Now to go into the Knop demo, I've already installed the MySQL database. I've also configured my virtual hosts and Lasso site admin or admin for that instance so that it will serve. And to actually view the demo, I could go into my internal web browser down here, but I want to have them side by side and appear up here in the editor. So it also makes it a little bit easier to have multiple web pages open and navigate through them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So you control click and open that file with Other. I'm going to select the web browser and click OK. Now it tries to download that file. Just click cancel. And then enter in the URL that you actually want to load. There it is. There's my grid. I can navigate through it. I can sort columns by clicking on a column heading. If I click it again, it'll sort by descending. I can remove sorting. I can edit a record if I like by clicking it, changing it from moose hair maybe to moose fur. I'm going to save that. And look at that, it highlights. I want to make a little more room here. This is kind of cramped, so I'm going to minimize that window. Much better. Now I'm going to open up another web browser window. So I can control click, select new editor. It'll try to download that same index page again. And this time I'm going to go to Knop 9. It's another virtual host I configured earlier. And as I go to the customer list, click on first name, it sorts. Pretty cool. Let's see if I edit moose fur. Let's change that back to moose hair. Save it. Pretty cool. So how is this all done? Amazingly, these are the exact same demo files running in both 8 and 9. I'm going to gloss over the primary configuration files, which are global, lang, and nav, because the meat of these files is contained in the config customer list and the lib customer list, and then the content customer list. So let's open up all 3 of those. And first one is the config. This configures this little URL to do stuff. And here, just walking through it, it creates a grid object. And we're going to add some fields to it. First name, last name, and email. First name, last name, email. And then we actually, let's move this guy over there. Then we do a lib. The lib file gets loaded on the first load, and it executes the page logic. So we'll set some parameters and then actually get the list of records. The last step is to actually display the grid. And this single line displays all of this grid stuff here. Wow. Wow, how does that work? Well, that's why you use a framework. Saves you a lot of repetitive coding. This one little snippet down here, that's to show the new button when you are going to create a new record. I'm just touching on all the stuff that Knop can do and make your life easier. If you want to learn more about it, I invite you to go and explore the docs directory at the GitHub repo and read the Knop manual. Lots of information there that will help you get started in writing code with the Knop framework. So now that we're done with the Knop demo, I'm going to close a few files here. And restore my views. Next, I'm going to configure my LassoLab environment so that I have easy access to menu items and toolbar items to work with EGit. Now when you do this, sometimes it doesn't work the first time, so you gotta really, hit it with a hammer. So I'm going to go through this process with you. Underneath the window menu item, we're going to customize our current perspective, which is the lasso perspective. First we have to enable some command groups and make them available. So there's the Git and the Git navigation actions. Under menu visibility, I found that you have to check it or uncheck it and then check it, and do the same thing for the toolbar visibility. So check it, uncheck it, then check it, then click OK, and then they appear. If you don't do that, it's like Eclipse or LassoLab is just not aware that you've actually made a change. So make sure that you do that for each one of those tabs. Now we can actually work with our repository. So we're going to go through this process one step at a time. Now we're at if you're following along in the tutorial, we're picking up again from modifying and contributing to the Knop project. Okay, while I was doing the previous step, I noticed that my toolbar items and Git menu were not showing up correctly. So sometimes not only do you have to hit LassoLab with a hammer, you have to hit it with a shovel and a bowling ball. I had to basically quit and restart it. Now all my menu items and toolbar items and contextual menu items show up just fine, and I can work again as I would normally using EGit. Alright, so I'm going to maximize this view or stretch it out a little bit just so I have a little more room here. Much better. I'm going to start off by first, you got to always update your local repo with any files that may have changed on the upstream repo. Alright, so you can do that several different ways, but I'm going to use the menus. So I'm going to go to Git, fetch from upstream, and it looks around and it says, you're current. Everything's up to date. Great. Next I need to do a git pull so that I can merge those changes if there were any. Now, of course, there are none, but maybe I made some changes locally. We'll see. So we're going to do that again. We're going to do a different command, actually. It's git pull. Looks good to me. So now we're ready to go on to the second step, where we create a new branch. So to do that, we have this funky little non-intuitive term, switch to. I wish it said switch to branch, but you get the idea. So we currently have, or manage branches would be even better. So we currently only have one local branch, so we need to create a new one. So we're going to click the New Branch button, and we need to select the source for this, and we're going to go to the refs remotes origin master. And now we name our branch, and let's just call it the delete me branch. The pull strategy we want to use is the merge pull strategy. That works best in collaborative teams. And finally, we want to check out our new branch and work in it. So you leave this little box here checked. Click the Finish button. And now you notice that you are now on the Delete Me branch. You can switch between branches at any time. You can use the Git switch to and select whatever branch you want to be on. Note that this little black square with a white check mark indicates what current branch you are on. So if I want to switch to it, I just select it and click the Checkout button. And now I'm switched back over to the master branch. Let's try that once again. This time I'm going to use a toolbar button. I'm going to go to Delete Me branch, check it out. Ooh, there I am. I'm back on delete me. All right, now we're going to actually edit a file. And I'm going to pop this baby open. I already made some edits on this, as you can tell. So I saved it, and now I'm ready to go ahead and stage these changes to my local repository, or add them to the index, and then commit them with a message. You can do this in one fell swoop by using a commit. It just puts it all together into one single command. So you go to git commit, and you enter in your message. There's a few other items here, but we're not going to talk about that so much. And I just want to commit this one file here. That's the only one that I've really changed. And I click commit. And you notice that that little greater than sign, which said there was a file that had been edited, disappears, and it shows that it's pretty current. All right, step 5. Now we're going to push this branch and all the changes that I made from my clone up to my fork on GitHub. So we go to the Git menu. Gosh darn it. Go to the Git menu, and we're going to push to upstream. And we're going to make sure that everything looks good. Just click the OK button. And voila, it's up there. Just to make sure, why don't we take a look at my GitHub repo. And I can do that by popping open a web browser. So I'm going to use the internal web browser and maximize that. And I'm going to go to my GitHub repo. This is me. There I am. And it looks like, let's take a look here. Now as you notice, you see like the file that I was just editing indicates that it was updated 3 days ago. How can that be? Well, that's because I'm on the master branch and not the branch I was actually working on. So in the GitHub user interface, I just can select the branch I want to switch to. Go back into Docs, and there she is. All right, so I can actually view this. The last step is to actually submit a pull request so that the project administrators can, or the project owners or maintainers can review your request and then make a decision on what to do with it. So to do that, you click on this button here for pull request. You have your comment there. It's a branch that can be deleted. I'm going to send my pull request. And there, it gets over there to the Knop Project. It shows my pull request. And then I can take any further action since I'm one of the project owners. Sorry for the jump cut. I closed this issue and so I could continue doing work on the demo here. The next thing that we're going to do is add task repositories that exist in GitHub accounts. These repositories are for managing issues, gists, and pull requests. So let's get started on that. First, we need to close the or restore our views back to the way they were. And now we need to open up a new view, which is the task repositories view. So I'm going to Window, Show View, Other, and I can filter out the text. There's task repositories, and there we go. Now, we're going to go into the next step, which is working with GitHub Issues. Now, the GitHub Issues component has already been installed when we installed EGit. So all we have to do from this point is to configure our GitHub Issues repository. So to begin, we'll go to the Window menu, Show View, Other, and let's filter out some tasks. We want task repositories. Aha, there it is. It's under Myelin task repositories. And then it opens up. Now we're going to start adding a bunch of repositories. The first one's going to be GitHub Issues, and we'll go on to Gists and pull requests in just a minute. So now we're going to add a GitHub repository. So you can control click or right click to add a task repository. And we're going to add GitHub Issues. Click Next. And we're going to enter in for our server. It's going to be the Knop Project. Knop. And we'll leave the label as is. For your user ID, you enter in your own user account. Enter in a password for your password. I like to save it so I don't have to keep re-entering it. And then I always click this Validate Settings button and wait for it to, yep, there it goes, success. Once we have success, I'm going to click Finish. And now I'm prompted to add a new query for this repository. And I want to keep doing that for all the others too. So I'm just going to click the Yes button. And here it gets a little bit tricky. It's not altogether intuitive. First of all, this UI has some misleading filters. These checkboxes over here will actually perform an AND search, not an OR search. So just if you want to display all of the issues in your repository, just don't select any labels at all. Just leave it blank. Now these here are OR searched. Don't ask me why. That's just the EGit user interface. So anyway, I'm going to type in a title here, and it's going to be all Knop Project issues. And I don't care to do any other filtering, so I'm going to click Finish. Now if I want to see the list of all of my open issues, or all of my issues, I have to open up a new view. So I go to Window, Show View, Other, and I'm going to filter on Task L for Task List. Underneath Myelin Task List, select it, click OK, and my task list appears. I like having it over here on my right hand side. And now I'm going to expand that, and wow, look at that. I've got a whole bunch of issues. Looks like I closed 2 of them, and there's 3 that are open. And anyway, that's kind of how it works. From this point, you can, view and work with your Knop project issues in LassoLab and Eclipse, or through the GitHub website. And depending upon your permissions, you'll have different features enabled. So one thing, for example, let's open up this Knop demo login. I'm going to open up that issue, and I'm going to maximize it so you can see it better. You can actually see a nice discussion that I had with Amtrik about how to do some implementation of this feature. And you can enter in new comments. You can either close it or leave it open. You can assign it to somebody. I don't want to assign it. What else can you do? Well, there's a whole bunch of stuff. But anyway, once you're done with this, you can actually submit it and it will update. I'm going to close it because I don't want to do any more updating on this ticket. Just a side note, Myelin is it's kind of like the hub for all of the source control management tools like Subversion and Git and Mercurial, and probably a half dozen others as well. It also has excellent integration with ticket tracking systems. So if you use Track or Bugzilla or even Mantis, you can use this same tool for your bug tracking system as well as your source control management. It's really cool. So check out the Myelin site and anything that is labeled Myelin for plugins so that you can do the same kind of source control management, ticket management, and other features for your own development environment. So that's it for GitHub Issues. Now we're going to go on to a particular feature that's only on GitHub as far as I know. It's called Gists. A gist is a simple way to share snippets and pastes with other developers. All gists are Git repositories, so they are automatically versioned, forkable, and usable as a Git repository. So to configure a GitHub Gist repository, we'll follow this previous first 5 steps for the GitHub issues that we did earlier, and then proceed from there. Let's close that. I do not want to save changes. Let's restore my view. And now I'm just going to control click or right click on this and add a task repository. This time I'm going to select the gists and click next. Now I'm going to enter the server name here, and we got the correct one. The label, we're going to just leave it as gist. That's good enough. User ID, same thing. Password, same thing as before. And I like to save the password. I'm going to validate the settings. Success. Click Finish. And I do want to create a query. And I'm going to say it's going to be my gists under my name. And that looks good enough. Now let's go to that show view other. Well, hey, we already see it. We have our gists already open. Let's collapse that and get my gist there. Oh, I already have a couple of gists there. That's pretty cool. What does it say? Let's maximize that. Oh, looks like I got a gist here that had some install guide stuff. And it just looks like a little bit of text. Huh, that's interesting. Okay, let's close that. And let's minimize that or restore it. Now I'm going to show you how to actually create a gist. So let's say I grab this stuff here. And all you really have to do is to select the text or file that you want to create a gist out of. And then you control click or right click on that selection and select GitHub, and you can either create a private or a public gist. I'm going to make it public, and it created a brand new one. I'm going to maximize that so you can get a better look at it. Here's the file. And there it is. Now, if you're in GitHub, let's restore that setting. Go back to the internal web browser. Let's maximize that. I'm going to go back to me, and I'm going to look at some gists. And here's my gist. Pretty cool, huh? All right. And then you can always manage them however you like. Doesn't matter. I'm going to restore my view. Go back to here. And, you can manage these however you like. You can delete them. Oops, let's get a better view here. You can delete them. You can play around with it. I won't bore you with the details, but that's pretty much it. Those are gists. Next thing we're going to go into are GitHub pull requests. So to work with GitHub pull requests, first of all, a pull request, it's a notification that you send as a developer to a project maintainer to tell them to update their repository. Now, EGit supports the display and opening of pull requests, but as of today, EGit does not support the creation of pull requests. You need to do that through the GitHub website or through the internal web browser in LassoLab or Eclipse in order to submit that pull request. So to configure the GitHub pull request repository, we'll just follow the same steps that we did earlier for both issues and for gists. So in the task repository view, we're going to control-click, select Add Repository, select GitHub pull requests, click Next, and we're going to enter in the correct repository, which is Knop-project. Knop. The label is automatically filled. Enter in our user ID and our password. Let's save it. Validate settings. Success. Click Finish. And let's add a query. We're going to view Knop Project pull requests, and we want to see all of them. Click Finish, and look at them all pull in there. Look at that go. All right, let's get that in the background. See the progress take place. And it's getting all of them. One more to go. Ta-da! Let's just look at one that I just recently did here. This is the branch. Let's expand that. Close that guy. Close that guy. This is the pull request where I said, hey, this is what can be deleted. Oops. This is basically all we can do here is view it. We could add a description or a comment if we wanted to. Or actually, we cannot do that yet. We cannot do that through through EGit. You have to do that through the website if you want to do that. So that's pretty much it. That's a basic overview of using LassoLab, the EGit plugin, using Git and working with GitHub and all of its features to collaborate with a team of developers. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and hope to see you participating in the Knop project in the not too distant future. Thanks.